Hello and welcome to another Overlord lore video, and today we are going to ask the same question a certain detective asked in the movie 7. What's in the box? But before we have a closer look at this, let's take a look at my Patreons and thank them for supporting this channel. Also, I say thank you to all users of the YouTube thanks function who made one-time donations. Furthermore, please check out my other channel, link to it in the description. Now with that said, Albedo, after traveling to the Kingdom of Re-Esitze, came with a couple of missions, at least from her perspective, and one of them was preparing Renner, after Demiurge had already made sure that she was a suitable candidate for serving the Great Tomb of Nazarick and the wider Sorcerer Kingdom. And Albedo was delighted that Demiurge was right, and that all of this was true, and that Renner had betrayed her family, bloodline, and her nation in general, despite understanding good and evil and the difference between the two, and that her deeds, her many betrayals, all for the sake of heteromorph invaders, would be viewed as morally wrong and evil by everyone around her. Renner, who again understood the difference between right and wrong and the concept of good and evil, simply didn't care. She calmly worked towards her goal, which is of course climb in general and certain parts of him in particular. This determination was also noticed by Albedo, who compared the Golden Princess to a heteromorph in spirit, a high compliment coming from the normally lower life form hating Albedo, who was even worried what other members of Nazarick would think about her being concerned for a mere human. But since she had bigger plans for Renner, that is to turn her into a subordinate of the Sorcerer Kingdom and of her personally, Albedo still found the reaction justified. Now with that said, Renner was planning the downfall of Re-Esitze from the inside out, and while Albedo had thought about giving her more resources, aka troops at hand to facilitate this internal betrayal, the Floor Guardian Overseer saw it also as a test of the abilities of Renner, and if Renner would succeed, then the Golden Princess would be elevated to a position akin to that of an Area Guardian within the Great Tomb of Nazarick. And this was also another aspect of why Albedo found it permissible to be ever so slightly worried about Renner. And just like Floor Guardians are in charge and guardians of an entire floor of the Great Tomb of Nazarick, Area Guardians are subordinates to Floor Guardians and in charge of only specific areas of a certain floor and the monsters and mechanics within them. For example, Guren, the Magma Slime, Neuronist Painkill, and the youngest of the Pleiades, Aureole Omega, are all Area Guardians. And this position is not dependent on strength but on ranking also. For example, the only level 35 victim is in charge of the 8th floor, while Aureole Omega is just in charge of the Cherry Blossom Sanctuary, despite being the strongest of the Pleiades and at level 100. So Renner would be basically part of the Great Tomb of Nazarick at this point. And that's where the spoiler warning begins, because what was truly in the box has only been shown in the 14th novel. It was an item to change the race of a human into that of a heteromorph. But there were certain conditions one had to fulfill in order to ascend to this immortal form, in order to become an imp, one of the most common base classes of heteromorphs, and the same that Albedo also has as her own basic class. Renner had to commit a couple of very evil deeds. And this is where the foster home comes into play. And when I say foster home, I'm explicitly talking about the sweet and innocent children within it. Under the pretext of wanting to alleviate poverty, take care of the now orphaned children, in order to keep them off the streets, so that they wouldn't have to lead a life of crime and lawlessness in order to just survive. And also under the further pretext of spotting strong martial and magical talents among the children. So something similar to the magical education program that the Empire under Fluda Paradane had for many years already. Renner assembled a lot of kids and did her best to gain their trust and the love of the children and of the entire orphanage, including the personnel, by reading them stories and supporting the orphanage financially. And after the Sorcerer Kingdom has invaded and was about to breach the city walls, Renner ventured one last time to the children in order to cook for them. After that, Climb noticed a certain ashen smell about Renner and a more pale complexion on her face. And now all of a sudden, Renner could keep up with him because both were running to the office of King Ramposa. And while Climb was sent out again in order to hide the crown jewels of the family, Renner, who had already shown a keen interest in Razor Edge, one of the 5 treasures of the Kingdom of Re-Esitze, and Gazav Stronov's most potent weapon, now used this very blade to slay her own father. After that, and after a battle with the Sorcerer King that Climb had fought, which I have analyzed already, link to the video is in the description, Climb dies, due to Einsulgun's favorite 9th tier spell, Grasp Heart, and is then subsequently revived by Pestonia, and greeted by this lovely sight. This is Renner's final form. This is the Golden Princess as an imp, after she betrayed everyone, including Climb, because she tells her loyal dog that the Sorcerer King has forced her to become a heteromorph, and that if Climb wanted to stay at her side, he was to commit certain acts in order to turn him into a heteromorph too, something Climb of course agreed, so that he could stay at the princess's side. Now we don't know what kind of acts Climb had to commit, but considering that Renner killed literally an orphanage full of children and her own father, alongside participating into the near extinction of her own kingdom, and the people that she should have protected, and that loved and adored her, it won't be pretty. And fun fact, if not for Climb, Renner specifically requested him to be revived, but not aided in his recovery, so that she could nurse him, and she also thought about doing other things to him, that I won't mention here. Now, with this last remark finished, I say thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to Betka Yi, Ben C, Chrissy, Crowley0221, Sia, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Duckwagon, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feral Shivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, Chromius, Legendarius, Lelouch Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Merovek, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Normal Toad, Oakhill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantom, Personage, Primus 11, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, the Orc Warboss, Rocket Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, and Zonegon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.